welcomed. Why Clooney has nothing but praise for President Biden after famously urging him to step aside. That deaths of 6 Hamas-held hostages sparked protest across the country, with people demanding a ceasefire. Much of the anger is being directed at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for failing to commit to a deal to secure the release of hostages held for the past 330 days. Benjamin Netanyahu expressed devastation earlier today and vowed once again that Hamas would pay a heavy price. "I'm begging for your forgiveness that we did not succeed in bringing them home alive. We were very close. Nearly there." Funerals were held Monday for some of the hostages found dead in Gaza over the weekend, including one for Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Polin. Imtiaz Tiab has the latest on this. For a second night, Israelis have taken to the streets in the thousands to express rage, mainly at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who they blame squarely for the deaths of the hostages whose remains were found in Gaza. They say that Prime Minister has stood in the way of the ceasefire and the hostage deal. They are demanding that IDOB agreed to now. And yet here we are again, seeing thousands desperately trying to see that kind of agreement have been. We've been hearing politically from Benjamin Netanyahu and others in his extreme far-right-wing cabinet, suggesting that the deal is not close. The United States has been strongly pushing for this agreement, which would see the release of Israeli hostages from Gaza and a ceasefire over this 3 days. As we've been saying, the deal still seems a long way off, despite the fact so many people have come out here to express anger and grief. Chanel? Imtiaz Tiab, thank you. For more on this, let's go to Robert Berger in Jerusalem. I want to start with Benjamin Netanyahu and his address day. Take us through some of the big takeaways. You know, I would describe this conference as defiant. Benjamin Netanyahu stood by a key demand that has been a sticking point in the negotiations. It's really a deal grape. He said it's a deal breaker. Israel would not withdraw from the border between Gaza and Egypt. He says that's a weapons smuggling lifeline to Hamas, and Israeli troops won't withdraw. And Hamas has said all along that unless Israel withdraws from there and other parts of Gaza, there's not going to be a deal for the hostages. It seems like both sides are basically digging in, and a deal is no closer than it has been for several months. Robert, I'm wondering if this was an appeal to his nation to be on his side or stay on his side. Did it work? I think the Israeli public is dug in, no matter what he says. Certainly, he was appealing to the nation, saying that he is doing his best to bring hostages home. The people who were out on the streets demonstrating, they simply don't believe that. They think, for lyrical reasons, to keep his far-right-wing coalition together. He is basically scuttling a deal. His supporters, on the other hand, support him in his goal to destroy Hamas and to bring the hostages home through further military pressure on Hamas. Robert, before the news, there has been a planned temporary positive fighting to promote polio. Vaccinations in Gaza, especially for children there, will this impact the ever there at all? That's going really well. So far, we are in the 2nd day of the polio vaccination campaign. According to Houston in health officials and UN officials in Gaza, over 100,000 kids have received this oral vaccination. So far, there was a 2-day pause in central Gaza. Now the plan is a 3-day pause, fighting in central Gaza, and a 3-day pause after that in central and southern Gaza, and the goal is to